Do you want me to cry so you can believe me? What do you want me to do?
I want you to step out of the shadow and stand under the light of truth.
Did you guys just hear that? You know what? I'll play it again. I want you to witness how bad and awful dialogue with even awful delivery mixed with average acting can take you out of a serious moment in a movie.
I want you to step out of the shadow and stand under the light of truth.
Who the hell has the time to say, I want you to step out of the shadow and stand in the light of truth in a serious argument with a straight face? Who says this? Now, I want you to compare this garbage you've just witnessed with another argument scene from a married couple in the 2019 Noah Baumbach movie, A Marriage Story.
You're such a dick!
Every day I wake up and I hope you're dead. Dead like if I can guarantee Henry would be okay. I'd hope you get an illness and then get hit by a car and die.
I want you to step out of the shadow and stand under the light of truth.
Or here's a better one from Jim Sheridan's 2009 underrated epic Brothers.
You know how much I love you. You know what Christ, you know what I fucking... You know what I can do with these fucking ass crap?
Notice any difference? Believe it or not, authentic acting, realistic dialogue, and good blocking of characters goes a long way into showing the difference between mediocrity and a masterpiece. So, a lot of you people in the comments kept telling me to go watch this 2021 movie called Nafsi, written and directed by Reuben Odanga, starring the protagonist Aisha, played by Mumbi Maina, Catherine Kamau as the protagonist Shiko, Alex Makideu as Clarence, the abusive partner to Shiko, and Alfredo Munoz as the husband Sebastian. Holy shit, next time I decide to take a recommendation from you guys, I'm going to approach it with a grain of salt. Because unfortunately, there are no reviews in Kenya. What I'm making right now is a first ever review, an honest review from someone who's watched it and seen what garbage is thrown at them. And I'm not gonna lie, this movie is not good in any way whatsoever. It has a good story, but the execution and how to put it on screen is one of the lamest attempts of filmmaking I've ever seen. I can talk a lot about every single aspect I hated about this movie, but for this video specifically, I'm just going to address two things: the bad dialogue and the completely stupid dogshit writing. But first, here's the synopsis. The movie begins with an aging couple, Aisha and Sebastian, in a fertility clinic where they are in an ultrasound session. They have been trying for 7 years to have a baby, but every single time it fails. This is the fourth attempt, and unfortunately, even though the pregnancy is successful, it is an ectopic pregnancy, as such, fatal if left terminated. And of course, they terminate it and are back to square zero. The movie cuts to a baby shower scene where Aisha is late to the party. One of our friends, Mercy, is the expectant one. Every single one of our friends has experienced pregnancy or is about to experience it. And Aisha is the only one feeling left out because of a consistent failing. However, she reluctantly reveals that she's been trying to get a baby.
I'm trying to get pregnant.
What?
Cut to Shiko. She's taking a shit while talking to this chinless looking fuckface in the shower who happens to be the guy she's dating. Shiko finishes up and goes to the room. While reading a book, a mysterious call from a man's phone rings up and she picks it up only to discover that Clarence has not only been cheating on her, but he has also been married for a while. She was the side chick and a sick wife was in her deathbed. Of course, this leads to them fighting and Shiko is forced to move out to give herself some space from the whole situation. 1 week later, after the whole doctor's appointment thing, Aisha and Sebastian are now awkwardly navigating through their marriage walking on eggshells. Clarence is coping with the pain of another failed pregnancy by focusing on his work, while Aisha is doing everything to win his approval back. A small fight breaks before they are interrupted by Shiko,
I know that you want to go out there and you want to start doing some stuff.
who's temporarily moving in with them. Shiko is there to cheer her up and relieve the tension in their marriage. Clearly, she is Aisha's BFF and they will do anything for each other. For a moment, this works. Aisha, who was bedridden and a couch potato from being depressed with her troubles, is now occasionally going out with Shiko, going on vacations to the coast, anything to cheer her up. And Sebastian, clearly salty because he can't move on, is pissed off by all this given how they keep arguing all the time.
You're not even remorseful.
Why should I be? I'm not a child.
Aisha, skiza nikwambie.
The mechanic is coming for the car. It's due for service.
Aisha's, who apparently was the breadwinner in this relationship, takes away his car and debit card privileges. Aisha and Shiko's vacation in the coast served its purpose. Two grown-ass old ladies trying to forget their troubles and relationships by having fun on their own. However, the one thing you clearly notice during all this is how the friend group of Shiko, Aisha, Mercy and Angie feels kind of fake and they all withdraw information from each other. Well, mostly Aisha does that. The funny part about this brief separation between Sebastian and Aisha is how none of them cheat.
You're leaving. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Listen, I'm married.
despite having every reason to do so. Shiko, on the other hand, was playing hard to get with this tour guide, and yeah, it was kind of fun seeing her happy for the first time. A crucial point towards the end of the vacation happened when Sebastian one day calls Aisha while he was crying and was profusely apologizing for acting like a jerk to her. At this point, Shiko offers to console her by being a surrogate for their child, the ultimate act to cement their friendship. Also in the vacation, Shiko's father gives her a heads up about an upcoming 10-year anniversary of her mother's funeral. However, you could tell Shiko hated her mom and their relationship was almost non-existent to the point that the thought of her name just made her sick. Shiko tells a white lie about her pregnancy. She deliberately avoids to tell the part that it is a surrogacy and goes ahead to say that she is in fact pregnant. The vacation ends and back home, everything is now less awkward, and for the first time in forever, Sebastian and Aisha actually become romantic after the botched pregnancy. The morning after, Aisha tells Sebastian the whole surrogacy plan. He reluctantly agrees and they all go forward with it and sign the necessary contracts. The whole gang of the 4 friends finally share a scene together to celebrate Marcy's delivery.
She lost the baby.
What?
I bumped into Sebastian. He told me it's a reason you and Shiko went down to the coast too.
The news of Shiko's being the surrogate of Aisha's baby came as a shock given by how the news was delivered. Shiko finally gathers enough courage to move back to her guy's place and quickly notices how tidy his house is. Turns out he did actually clean it because he was hygienic. It is all a ruse to cover his tracks from his obsessive cheating.
And my picture frame, have you seen that as well?
This broken frame of Shiko's picture went missing because he broke it while pile-driving a woman on the table. Shiko discovered a pamphlet showing a funeral for Clarence's wife. Apparently, he buried his wife who died of stress, and this in turn sparks another heated argument between the two when she specifically asks him if he loved her.
I love you, Shiko.
Shiko saw through his bullshit but chose to bear with it. They could barely sleep on the same bed, and come the next day when this sex-deprived maniac wanted to pipe her, she said no because apparently you cannot have sex while pregnant in a surrogacy. Shiko is forced to tell him the whole situation, and this in turn makes them have another massive fight. This time it was so bad it actually became physical and ended up with Shiko being assaulted by the husband and being pushed down the stairs, injuring her badly. News reaches Aisha and Sebastian and they are both genuinely traumatized. Just then, this guy called Biko knocks on their door and comes in all shouting about Sebastian not picking his calls, and was shocked to learn that Sebastian is a married man. Apparently Sebastian was low-key gay and this Biko guy was his love interest. Shocker. So that makes him bisexual.
You are gay.
Does she know? Does she know that you don't work? Does she know that I provide you with a monthly stipend?
Also, Sebastian doesn't even have a job. Money he has comes from his boyfriend. Cut back to a few months later, and Shiko is now back in Aisha's home to stay over. Apparently, Aisha finally became pregnant. And on top of that, with Shiko's already visible baby bump, this creates one of those awkward tensions. Once again, Shiko never opened up about unimportant information to her friends. She led to an awkward interaction when they met in person.
The scan shows that the baby has mild symptoms of Down syndrome.
Also, Shiko's surrogate baby has Down syndrome, and that was reason enough for both of these two to confront her and deny the child and threaten to annul the surrogacy contract. They conveniently stay up all night.
You're pregnant?
They conveniently stay up all night and wait after Shiko reveals this info to the friends to do the whole confrontation, and we witness one of the worst betrayals in Kenyan film history. A huge fight breaks.
You need to calm down.
I don't know if you guys are keeping track of these fights because there is really a lot of fights in this movie. Everyone just fights for any slight interaction. Literally every single interaction is either passive aggressive or fighting. I digress. A huge fight breaks and this in turn permanently sours their relationship and she is forced to leave and stay with Angie. Aisha's dad visits and finally confirms the pregnancy and gets acquainted with Sebastian for the first time ever. The main purpose of the visitation was to remind Aisha of her mom's anniversary and ask for dowry. Much later, Shiko gets labor pains and she finally gives birth. Everyone in the friend group shows up for her except Aisha. She takes her to the hospital, covers all her bills, and even offers to be the dad, and Mercy visits her later in the day. Aisha tells Sebastian of the news and both are devastated by it because remember, they disowned the child.
In simple terms, a baby with Down syndrome is a physically handicapped baby.
What about me?
Your baby.
It's your baby.
Okay. That baby is sick. None of us is willing to go down that. We want you to get rid of it.
Impossible. Just
Aisha ignores all her friends' calls and decides to go visit on her own because she was too much of a coward to face Shiko for what she pulled off. When she was looking at the child in an incubator, we get a brief flashback of how traumatic her childhood was. Apparently, Aisha got pregnant when she was a teenager and was forced to terminate the pregnancy, which in turn led to a chain reaction of complications, and that's why she's been having problems getting pregnant. Fast forward to a few weeks before her due date, Aisha finally discovers about her husband's affair with this big guy and confronts him, which again leads to another fight, and this time it stresses her out so much to the point that she starts having a miscarriage or something. Okay, look, I don't even know if these things are even scientifically or medically accurate. Apparently, crying in the bathroom while angry makes you have a miscarriage. I don't know the genuine logic into some of the things that happen in this movie. I'm just going with the flow. The doctor said she was suffering from
Her uterus was weak.
Anywho, Sebastian couldn't handle another failed pregnancy, and in turn decides to ditch her wife in the greatest time of need. He packs up his clothes and leaves off to be with his boyfriend. The only one from a friend group who visits Aisha is Mercy, and clearly it's safe to say that Aisha is now all alone. No husband, no friends, no kid, nothing. She falls into depression and drinks herself to despair every time she reaches out to her husband, only to find him completely switched up on her, not picking any of her calls or responding to anything else. And when he did decide to respond, this is all he had to say.
We are going to know how you're doing. It's good to know you're keeping well and recovering. Bye.
Wow. The final act of the movie, we see armed thugs disguised as policemen ambushing Shiko and Angie in their house, and they don't even rob anything. All they do is steal the baby and do a very sloppy job about it. Turns out Aisha was the one who hired them and quickly plays them off before she flees with her daughter to her father's home, lies to him that she was hers, and barely 10 minutes later, armed policemen, real ones this time, storm the house and arrest her, because turns out one of the thugs was an undercover cop who ratted her out. The movie ends with Aisha in handcuffs, and she is arrested and charged with a shitload of crimes, and the poor infant in the hands of her grandfather. The end. Like I said, I did not like this movie one bit. This movie had a really good premise, a story about surrogacy and bad friendship and making bad decisions that all led down to a climatic plot. The idea was there, but the execution was so stupid to the point that it almost feels like your intelligence is being insulted by the dog shit third act. Every line of dialogue uttered in this film was so bad,
That fine dark bar of chocolate. Slap, slap.
so unnatural,
I'm not lying to you. Believe me, I'm telling you the truth.
to the point that you can clearly feel like they're just plainly reading out the script.
Oh my goodness, you're pregnant! This is unbelievable.
Believe it or not, we live in a time of media consumption where we can all clearly tell when a dialogue feels fake.
Huh? Yan gusto man yun.
Ha, mishy gishy gushy gushy mishy meshy mushy motherfucker.
Huh? Eh? Sa lugar yan eh.
One fatal mistake that Kenyan screenwriters always make is the idea that they cannot attach a character to an actor. Catherine Kamau is the protagonist of this story, but at no point was I ever seeing Shiko in her.
Do you see my big ass? Did you love her?
I know that this is Catherine Kamau delivering lines for a paycheck. I do see good acting, but the dialogue does not sell the plot. One famous author, Robert McKee, in his best-selling book, Dialogue, The Art of Verbal Action for Page, Stage, and Screen, once said, when we say a writer has ear for dialogue, we mean he writes character-specific talk. Each of these characters speak with different syntax, rhythm, and tonality, and most importantly, word choices that no one but the character will use. Let me give you guys an example. I used to watch this movie as a kid called Star Wars. And in Star Wars, there was this small green creature called Master Yoda. He was a really good Jedi. And one distinct thing about him is how he spoke. Master Yoda always spoke backwards because that was his whole shtick. Instead of saying, we must hurry, he will say something like, hurry we must.
Much to learn you still have.
When you hear someone speaking backwards, you know that this is Yoda. You will not expect someone like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Darth Vader to say the same things because that is not a Darth Vader thing to say. The pattern in the dialogue can be attached to a character and no other character is able to say it.
I want you to step out of the shadow and stand under the light of truth.
This whole nonsense, you can replace it by saying Semo Kweli, and it will have the same impact. And that's the problem with this movie. You can substitute any single line of dialogue that any one of these characters say and any other person can say it, and it will just sound the same because no one has an identity in this movie. Lines are just delivered like mediocre plots.
You still hate your mother, even in her death?
I don't hate her, Papa. In fact, I forgave her.
It's almost as if Reuben Odanga doesn't understand dialogues. It's almost as if Reuben Odanga doesn't even understand his own characters. I think 90% of the dialogue in this movie can be solved by, I know this will sound crazy, but hear me out. If you let these people speak naturally in Swahili, then we can understand, because this movie is a Kenyan movie at the end of the day. The idea that they have to speak English because they want to appeal to a broader non-existent audience for the sake of getting funding is just so stupid. That's the problem with Kenyan movies. They try to cater to a minute, non-existent demographic because only 5% of the Kenyan population actually converses in English 24/7. Hell, that's even a lot. I'll go and say 1%. The 99% of people in this country, because this movie was made for Kenya, in Kenya, by Kenyans, speak Swahili, speak Sheng. That is more relatable. I have no problem with slow burn storytelling. In fact, I'm the guy who prefers animes like One Piece, Attack on Titan, Monster, and Steins Gate over quick slop garbage like Jujutsu Kaisen and Solo Leveling. I'm the guy who will watch a Scorsese movie like Taxi Driver and Goodfellas with my date over an orgasm like the Transformers or a DC superhero movie. I have no problem with the slow story. I just have a problem with a slow, boring story. This film begins with an in medias res shot of a couple in a fertility clinic receiving bad news about an ectopic pregnancy during an ultrasound. In medias res is a narrative technique where movies bypass slow introductions, opening in the middle of a high-stake action scene or pivotal plot point. The best example I can give you is this opening shot from the 2008 Christopher Nolan movie The Dark Knight. We get an introduction of the Joker while he is in the middle of an action. We don't get to hear rumors about the Joker. We don't get a backstory about the Joker. We just get the Joker from the get-go. This is an in medias res shot. Its main purpose is to dive you in straight into the action. It literally starts in the middle. The idea that the first two scenes of the movie is about a couple receiving bad news about a pregnancy, followed by an exposition narrating how many times it has occurred, with the severity of the consequences of choosing to keep it, means we as the audience know that Aisha has been struggling with infertility. We get it. We understand. My fucking goodness, I am okay if you will skip every single scene of the character in the story talking about it. This scene takes 5 minutes. They all talk about the infertility in this phone call for 3 minutes. They have 3 separate arguments about it, each lasting around 4 minutes. And of course, Aisha once again has a monologue about it to a friend Shiko for another 5 minutes. In other words, we spend approximately 25 minutes of the screen time where the protagonist is forced to blatantly speak about her infertility out aloud or address it to different audiences. This is what we call time wasting. I'm okay hearing about it twice at most, but 6 different occasions? Come on guys, what the hell are we doing here? The worst part about this, it comes at the expense of Aisha's backstory. How about instead of telling us over and over again that she has infertility, how about you use this time to talk about how her relationship was with her mom?
You still hate your mother, even in her death?
I don't hate her, Papa.
Show a montage of her and Sebastian over the years, her backstory as a child. I want to see why she hates her mother so much. A 30-second flashback doesn't cut it. This is stupid. I need more information. We sacrifice crucially important plot points in order to indulge in this repeated infertility thing. But you see, here's the thing. I don't fucking feel anything. Her failed marriage, her trauma, her friendship, betrayal from Sebastian. I don't feel shit. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the best part about this movie wasn't even Aisha's story. I was more invested in Shiko's backstory than Aisha's, the protagonist. The deuteragonist had more character development, had more character building, had more depth than the main protagonist. Yeah, sure, Aisha's story was the main focus about a person who has infertility and killing their kids. But that was boring. We got that from the first 5 minutes. What next? Go on a vacation, have a cheating husband, and then what? I don't care about any of this shit. I wanted to see more of Shiko's story, the one who got cheated on by a boyfriend, the one who got assaulted by the boyfriend, the one who was a surrogate, the one who was abandoned by her closest friend, the one whose child got stolen, the one who actually had more emotions in the film other than the basic old stoicness. Catherine Kamau's character was more fun. I wanted to see her more than I wanted to see Aisha, and it just sucks. It sucks that your deuteragonist has more depth than your main character. This story was boring. This was more fun. I wanted more of this and less of this. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I really hate it when the story tries to insult my intelligence. Like, sipendi kubeba ujinga. Let me give an example. They say that they were friends for so long, but how comes nobody ever knew that she was barren? You still hang out together way late into your mid-30s. How the hell do you not know or notice that Aisha has been married for 7 years and has never gotten a kid? Every single one of our friends is talking about pregnancy during all their meetups, motherhood, pregnancy, and all that shit. You want to tell me in all the 10 plus years they've known each other, nobody ever asked her that question? How the hell were they married for 7 years and Aisha finally discovers about Biko just right now in the story? This is one of those lazy plot twists that doesn't even excite you. You just facepalm yourself because of how stupid it is. Sebastian was gay and she never knew, she never had a feeling, she never noticed any signs, she never had any intuition. Come on. And Biko mysteriously shows up when the movie plot requires him to show up. He could have shown up at any other time. Why specifically this time when they were arguing? Reuben Odanga was really looking for a reason for Sebastian to leave Chico, and this was his way out. Introduce a gay plot point that leads to nowhere. This whole gay thing feels like a deus ex machina. A deus ex machina is a form of plot convenience, where an unlikely artificial events or coincidences that force a story forward, often ignoring logic or character consistency for the sake of ease. The writer is forced to form a solution to an obstacle, often breaking audience immersion. I don't believe that this nigga is gay. I don't see any gay tendencies. I don't see it. I don't fucking believe it. It's impossible. This whole gay thing was cheap and very easy for the writer to just put it out there because he had nothing else to do for Sebastian. Throughout the whole story, we get this idea that Aisha is one timid and meek person. She doesn't rise to the occasion. She doesn't confront situations. She tries as much as possible to be meek and humble. How the hell do you go from that to suddenly being a mastermind of a child kidnapping empire? You clearly stated that you didn't want anything to do with her. You rejected her. I do not at any one point believe that you wanted to do this. The least you could do as a screenwriter about this whole surrogacy thing was just explain to us, the viewers, how it works. I'm okay with hearing an exposition of how surrogacy works from one of these clinic officers. Tell us the premises on which it can't be broken. Tell us when it is valid. Tell us what it takes to revoke a surrogacy. Don't just tell us this one line right here.
Well then, no sex for the next 8 weeks.
And expect us to just go with the flow. I'm now forced to research on the Constitution of Kenya about surrogacy laws instead of learning it from the movie. It's your job to tell me. It's not my job to go look for it. The surrogacy thing was a major plot point in the story.
That's just lazy writing.
In conclusion, I think that this movie, Nafsi, was just a waste of time. It was shot during COVID. I've seen the behind the scenes, which was barely non-existent. I had to really go look for this footage because I have nothing. I have nothing to work on to decipher what Reuben Odanga was thinking. I don't have any characters interview. I have nothing of the main cast saying things about their characters. It was almost as if they didn't even have anything to say about it. I've not seen any press release. I've seen nothing about this movie, no marketing whatsoever. This movie was just a COVID project and I don't recommend it for anyone. You can watch it in case you're feeling vanilla and have nothing to watch and want to support Kenyan movies. But if this was showing in the cinemas, I will not spend a single coin out of my pocket to go support it because it's so bad, especially the third act. I have so much to say about that third act, but I will save it for another video. I'm specifically choosing to ignore the many flaws like the blocking, the cinematography, the absolute shit editing. But you know what? That's for another day. That's for another day. That's for another video. All I wanted to talk about was the bad dialogues and the bad character development. All in all, Nafsi 2021, I'll give this movie a 3 out of 10. Good effort, but again, very poor execution.